Hi friends, welcome back to Basics Bootcamp Tumbler Edition, where me and two other amazing artists will show you all the best tips, tricks, and tumbler making secrets. This week, we're talking about hacked tumblers, so let's get into it. First, you're going to take a prepped cup. I like to base mine white because I'm doing a watermelon, so I needed it to be white. If any other ones, you can start with a silver cup and just use a white spray paint as well, but I had these juniors, so I just used one of my prepped ones. I'm going to start with my light green on the bottom, kind of spraying up, not getting too high because I'm going to go back in. And then after that, I'm going to start with my pink. And I will point it directly at the cup for the top part, but as I start getting more towards where it's going to blend into the green, leaving a little bit of white in between, you'll see that I tilt the cup away from me a little bit more, so I get that nice blend without overlapping too much, because I do want a little bit of that white for the rind of the watermelon. I'll bring my green all the way up to the little edge and then leave that little lip right above the little hump as my white rind. Once I'm happy with the coverage, we'll let it dry, and then it's ready for our first coat of epoxy. I use about 5 milliliters of epoxy, and we're using a medium cut glitter. So this is a 0.25. And for this, I do like to sprinkle it like I do my chunkies because I feel like it lays a lot flatter and I don't have to use as many coats of epoxy. It takes me a little longer, but I save time on not having to do a second coat of epoxy versus like shaking it out of the jar. So I just sprinkle it on with my fingers until I'm happy with the coverage. Top and bottom, I'm using Frozen Fractals, which is a hacked opal color. So you'll see on the pink, it gives a really kind of pink with a little bit of green color shift. But when I bring it down onto the green, it's going to pull a lot more of the green out of that opal. And it is the perfect hacked glitter to use on these watermelon tumblers. See, as I come down onto that green, it gives you more of the dark pink green shift versus the top. And it's really pretty on these watermelon tumblers. So we'll just keep sprinkling until we're happy with the coverage. And you can kind of see in the video, it's laying super flat. So this only needs one coat of epoxy before I can put my decals on, which will also be available on the website just like last week. And Kimberly made them. They're so adorable. Sprinkling a little bit on the bottom so I don't miss that. And I just kind of throw little pinches at the bottom and let it settle into itself. Before it dries all the way, I will run my finger across the top lip just to make sure I don't have any glitter sticking over the edge, so I don't have to sand it off later. And you'll see me doing that right there. And I just lightly push down just to make sure I don't have anything sticking up, so I don't have to deal with it after this coat of epoxy. We'll let that spin till it's dry, and then it's ready for its second coat of epoxy. For this coat, I usually use probably 7 to 10 milliliters. It is a small cup, so I usually make about 15. And most of the time I use pretty close to all of it, but I do like a little bit thicker of a coat. But for these cups, I usually use about 10 for this glitter coat of epoxy, just because it tends to get into all the little crevices, because I don't seal my glitter if I'm using a hacked glitter, because I'm only using one color. So I'm not worried about it moving into a different area or transferring. Put your epoxy on like you normally would, and then we're going to spin. My camera did not record me putting on my decals or sanding the top of my tumbler. So while I'm putting this layer of epoxy on, we're going to talk about it a little bit. So I did have a little bit of a few bumps at the top where you can see it's a little bit discolored. I did sand that area before I put my decals on. And on this coat of epoxy, it'll take away that discoloration. But you'll add your decals like you normally would, and then this will be my final coat unless I decide to put another one on, but it doesn't need it. The glitter is super flat. The decal went on really well and didn't lift in any areas. There's good coverage on the cup, so I'm not worried about it breaking on a thin seam on the bottom. And this one's a super easy one. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And if you try it, tag us. We would love to see what you guys are making. Have a great night, friends.